So we're going to go get started. Thank you guys all for coming to Palestine in Focus, Reports from the Ground. So tonight we'll be hearing from a distinguished panel about how human rights organizations on the ground in Palestine have dealt with and are dealing with widespread abuses of human dignity. Shawan Jabarin is the general director of al-Haq, the oldest Palestinian human rights organization. Al-Haq was established in 1979 to protect and promote human rights and the rule of law in the occupied Palestinian territory, and also has special consultative status with ECOSOC. al-Haq works closely with Palestinian civil society organizations to ensure basic human rights standards in Palestine. And finally, Jalil Dakwar is the moderator of our discussion. He is the director of the ACLU's Human Rights Project. So please join me in welcoming our guests.
Shawan can't travel to Israel or Gaza unless he volunteers to take a one-way trip to Gaza, as sometimes Israel does to many Palestinians, of punishment, a form of punishment. And for that, for many years, he was denied the right to leave the occupied West Bank for alleged security reasons. And it was only after years of litigation that he was given permission to leave the country. We are truly lucky to have the opportunity to hear directly.
I would like to build on what Raji said and mentioned. I try not to repeat anything. I would like to start with a message that we have not to let a history to repeat itself. What's going on in Palestine, it's a continuing crime, it's an international crimes. It's crimes against humanity, war crimes. And I think this occupation, it's an ordinary occupation. Because for the legal persons, those they studied law, when they just hear word of occupation, they feel that it's temporary. It's, the reference of that is international humanitarian law, and just for a short term they have to conclude some political settlement and things like that, peace settlement, and everything will finish. This occupation completely is different, because they are not there just to leave the area tomorrow. They are there to clean the area from the people. They are there not just to control, to take, to confiscate everything. I would like to give one example. If they are an ordinary occupation, they have to administrate the area for the interest of the protected persons, civilians, Palestinian civilians. The natural resources in the area has to be for the interests and for the benefits of the Palestinians. But what they are doing, they are taking everything. And they left Palestinians for foreign aids. They are pillaging and taking directly from West Bank only around $7 billion. How? It's simple. From the minerals in Dead Sea, $1 billion. Ahava, for instance, it's a cosmetics company, and there are many of its products here in New York, mainly. They are producing, the cosmetics, $950 million a year. This is their figures and numbers. When you speak about water, this is also another thing. They are taking everything, and we buy our water. And it's more expensive than what they sell to the settlers. And more than that, 9,500 settlers in Jordan Valley, they take the same amount of water, like 2 million 2.5 million Palestinians in the West Bank. Just 9,500. Just you can imagine. They enjoy swimming pools. And our people, they have no water to drink in many villages and towns in West Bank. And the Israelis, they don't let them even to have pipes and water networks there. This is just, you can imagine why things like happened. Another thing is they are targeting a family unity. You can't, for humanitarian reasons, you find tens of thousands of families. They were separated. Part of the family in Jordan, or in Gaza, or in Jerusalem, and the other part in Ramalla, or in Gaza, or elsewhere. And they asking for family unification, and they refused and they reject. Even they don't account as a humanitarian issue. A mom, she is in Gaza, and her child, 2 years old, in Ramallah. I'm not exaggerating. I would like to refer you to which called COGAT, the Israeli, which called coordination liaison officer or commander in the defense ministry, the one who is in charge of the daily needs for the Palestinians in the occupied territory. He said that, he mentioned that in writing to one of the Israeli, and this is part of the policy, when they said to him, what's the humanitarian standards? What's the definition? Which cases do you deal with it as a humanitarian? And they brought the example of Imam. He said, if their grandfathers taking care of him or her, the 2 years old, khalas, it's okay. That's enough. It doesn't need, the mom to be with him or with her. This is the way. They are targeting the families. They are targeting the society, the structure of the society. How? For instance, in Jerusalem, they are pushing people outside. You think that, they're pushing them forcibly? Yes. They confiscate their IDs, which allows them to stay there, which called the permanent residency, and they push them to Ramallah. And this is what happened with the Palestinian Legislative Council members, for instance. And the Israeli High Court now, until today, now around 7 years, 8 years that they are dealing with the case, and they haven't concluded anything. And the Legislative Council members, the parliamentarians, those they were elected democratically in Jerusalem, they push them and they transfer them to Ramallah. And they have no right to go back to Jerusalem, to their families, to their properties, to their houses. Just you can imagine that. This is the case in Palestine. This is part of the story. Because of that, I said they are targeting people and land in the same time, which it gives, special nature of this occupation. Even it's worse than what it was in South Africa under the apartheid regime. The apartheid system there, even with the people from South Africa, when they come to Palestine and they see things, this is what they said to us, parliamentarians, officials, civil society members. They said, this is worse than what it was in South Africa. That's the case. Two different peoples, two people in the same piece of land. They have two different legal systems, two different treatments, special roads for Israelis and other roads for Palestinians. Go and see by your eyes. In every city, in every village, in every town, in the entrance of those communities, there is a big signs by the Israeli military, big red ones, said, this is area A, it's forbidden for the Israelis to enter in or to get in. That's it. If they get, it's illegal, and they will be held accountable for that. This is in Arabic, English, and Hebrew language. Go and see that. And every entrance leads to the roads for the Israelis. There is a gate, metal gate, and they can close anytime they want. And they deal and they treat with the place, with the village, with the town as a prison. What you can say about all of these things? Because of that, I think occupation is not enough to describe and to give the right meaning of what's going on in Palestine. We characterize it as occupation as a frame, it's okay, with the nature of colonialism and apartheid. That's the case. Or more than that. More than that. Another thing is, I would like just to give one example. A case, and this is one of different cases, because what's going on there, it's not an isolated incident. What's going there, it's part of a policy, systematic, an official policy. A child, he is 17 years old. His name is Fadi Alloun from Jerusalem. He's a very nice boy. His mom, she is in Jordan because the Israelis, they don't let her to come back because she has no ID. And they refuse to give her a permit. His father is in Jerusalem. He returned back from his work, and he has to go through a settlement in Jerusalem to his village called Isawiya. Walking, and in the neighborhood, you know, there, it's a settlement. The settlers, they start to attack him. And he, you know, ran away from them. The other group, they try to attack him from different sides. The police car arrived. And you know, the settlers, they shouted against him, whoa, 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 like this. Oh, he's a terrorist, terrorist, terrorist. And he tried to go to this police, you know, looking for protection. And the police, they killed him. They literally, you know, they gave him a bullet in his head. Just, they killed him. They refused to allow for his mom to come from Jordan. They kept his body for many days. They refused to give back his body. Family asked for a body. At the end, they put conditions. The conditions, 3 conditions. 1, they have no right to make an autopsy for the body. What's this? What has happened, these things? And this decision approved by the court, the Israeli court, to refuse to make an autopsy for the body. Second, if they want to bury the body, they have to bury it after midnight with the 20 people maximum to participate in his funeral. And if they preach that, they have to pay 20,000 shekels. It's around $6,500. This is, yes, they give back his body to bury his body under these conditions. Until today, they haven't received back the 20,000 shekels because many people there in the village, they participated in the funeral. This is even, it's a human things, very, very simple things. Occupation is a controlling system. I am not saying that to exaggerate or to give, let me say, an isolated incident here or there. No, no, this is a daily life. They have now in their hands 14 different bodies, some of them more than 100 days, 120 days. For what? Just to torture the families? Just to pressure the families? For what? What's the reason? More than that, when it comes also, when they kill, you know, this boy or this girl, and they demolish the house of the family. And the demolishing order also approved by the court and the high court. What's this, judiciary system? What's this remedy? For what? What they can gain? I ask myself. I'm in this field of human rights since so long, decades now. And I ask myself many times, if I put myself in their position and look at these things, what I can gain, even as a security person. Prevention, what can I gain if I send the whole family to the street as a homeless? And they have nothing to lose after they lost their son or their daughter, after they lost their house. What else? What they can lose? At the end, I found the response. The response is a political, goal behind. The political goal is when they demolish your house, they try to cut off between you and your house and to send you a message to say, you have no future in this area. If you want to protect your family, if you want to protect your property, you have to look for that outside of this country. You have no future here. I think that's the only response I found, the logic one, a political one. Because if I look at that from a security perspective, it's completely against the security. If you have nothing to lose, you are ready to do and to commit everything you want. And this is an official policy. I'm not here speaking about one case, things like that. Thousands for punitive reasons. That's the case. معي دقيقة? It's okay. I will finish in 1 minute. Okay. This is what I would like to address. This is part of an official policy. The last one is Palestinians, when they accept to have a state in West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem as part, they accepted to build their state on 22nd of historical Palestine. And they made a compromise first with themselves. The Israelis, they don't want that. Because if they want peace, to build a peace, the one who built the peace doesn't push people outside of their country and doesn't expand the settlements and doesn't make their life miserable. That's because of that I can conclude they don't need peace, but they need a process to create more facts on the grounds. Thank you, and I will leave more than that for the discussion. Thank you.
Shawan, I have a follow-up question regarding the wall. People here and around the world remember the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice regarding the wall, declaring it that it's illegal, in contradiction to international law, particularly the way that the Israelis built the wall, which they call the separation security barrier. Tell us about what has that done to communities in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, and what are the other measures, similar measures are being taken? We hear reports about, for example, mass displacement of Palestinian Bedouin communities in the West Bank. If you can give us more of an update on where's the struggle against this kind of use of so-called security measures rather as a land grab, as taking of resources, the natural resources that you referred earlier?
Look, I don't want to repeat myself, and I would like to emphasize on one thing. The policy of Israel is to restrict Palestinians' presence and existence and to create an environment to push them outside of their country and their land. The wall is for one reason, to annex more lands. It's not for security. I'm sure that it's against security because if you want to do anything, they can't follow you, for instance, from the other side of the wall. But for political reasons, they want to take more land, And this is the way, how to push Palestinians outside of their land. They put wall, they put fences, they put also checkpoints. This is different ways they use for one and same and common purpose, is how to push you outside of this area. They don't let people to go back to their land, to work in their land. That's an issue. And you need a permit. They create all of this system and the administrative system of that called permit system. When you hear about permit system, you think it's like a sophisticated and bureaucratic way and organized well. No, this is part of the controlling system. Because if you want to apply for a permit, they don't let you to get it. No, they said for security reasons. And just you can imagine 80 years mom, for security reasons, they don't give her a permit to go to visit her son inside, the prison. And I'm here, I'm asking also Amira to give examples like that. It's not an isolated incident. Things like that. This is the case. Controlling everything. This is what's seen. Every time I address what's unseen things. Even they are controlling the dreams. They are controlling love. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. For instance, people in Jerusalem, if they want to go in love with anyone in Ramalla or Hebron or Gaza or something like that, they have to address themselves 1,000 questions. Like, do the Israeli will let us to live together? Do they confiscate, and provocate the ID and separate between us? Do they register our children later on? Because of that, this is an issue. Go and ask, even young people. They said, oh, we can't. She's from Jerusalem, I'm from Ramallah. The Israelis, they will not let us to live together. And if she wants to come to live with me in Ramallah, they will confiscate her ID and she has no right to go back to live with her family to visit them. This is the case. They try to separate, they try to isolate, they try to exclude. The exclusion is the policy. That's the case. The destruction is the policy. That's the case. They want to destruct everything in this society. When I mentioned, the family unity, I meant it. This is the case. They want to destruct the society as a whole. Gaza. He spoke about Gaza. Just you can imagine, whole generation in Gaza now, they are looking for their future under the ground because they have no right for movement, freedom of movement. And more than that, you speak about generation, this is for the future of Palestine. They have no values of work these days because they depend on international aids. And just they live and they stay and lay down in their houses until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock day because they have nothing to do. They have nothing to do. There is no jobs in Gaza, nothing. They destruct everything in Gaza. Just you can imagine how it will affect the Palestinian society for a long term. You have a full generation, whole generation, and they have no values for work, for instance. This is also unseen things. Unseen things, for instance, now the violence also in our society. Divorce, for instance, increased dramatically for economic reasons, for political reasons, for social reasons. Now in Gaza, for instance, in the last 2-3 months, the numbers of those they suicided themselves, they dropped themselves from high buildings, increased dramatically. For any socialist has to address the question why things like that happen. What the Israeli can gain, I would like to say just shortly 2 things. One, no one can guarantee to the Israelis that they will stay as a superpower forever. Nothing like that happened in history. Nothing like that happened in history. And you can't depend on force and power on building your society. They depend on one main element and one only element called force. Force is a changeable thing. Power is a changeable thing in a history. If there is a one be, concerned, the Israelis has to be concerned. if there is a one to be concerned, their friends has to be concerned for the future of Israel. That's the case. I address it like that. And I think the US can make a difference in 5 minutes, not in 5 days. In 5 minutes, if they have a political will, if they can go, for instance, and respect their obligation under the international law, if they can human, and if they do believe about democracy, if they do believe about humanity, if they do believe about all of these values, they can make a change and they can say to their friends, enough is enough. This is wrong and this is right, and we can't continue. Not like Hillary Clinton to say, if they killed 2,000, 14,000 in Gaza, they are killing, the terrorists of Hamas. I think she left her humanity, to be honest with you, in this statement, and why they make, the Palestinian blood as a game and as a card in this, which called the election campaign. They making that as a card, playing card. Don't play with our blood. Don't play with our dignity. Don't play with our rights. That's the case. If you don't want to support the rights, could you please stay away and not support the crimes? I think the American officials, they are complicit with the crimes in Palestine. Thank you.
In the face of what Amira described as, a policy of fragmentation of land, people, and national identity across all of historic Palestine, what do you see as your meta-narrative as Palestinian civil society and activists?
To the third question or fourth question about eyes of the murderers, we have no information. The information, it's in some medias here, there. We can't confirm that because we depend on our professional standards in documentation. But I can tell you that before, yes, and the head of the Israeli autopsy center, he confirmed, and he was questioned and was investigated. His name is Yehuda Haas, and it was like a gang here in New Jersey. I think they used to trade in the bodies, and these things. And I'm sure that young Palestinians, those they were killed before and moved to that center, they were part of that trading bodies and organs. But these days, we have no information. The autopsy cases has happened before didn't confirm this issue. And but our question is why the Israeli refuse in many of the cases to have like an autopsy operation. Maybe they want to hide something. They want to, let me say, to escape from professional and technical reports. I don't know. We have to address this question to them. Just one word regarding the two-state solution. As Raji said, 2-1 things, we have no problem with that. But the Israeli, what they want, exactly, I think they don't want us to be there. That's, when you follow their policies, their practices, and put them in one map and analyze all of these things, the only thing they don't want us to be sovereign people, to exercise our self-determination in that area. They want us just as a people there, it's okay. And you know that between river and sea today, without accounting the Palestinian refugees in diaspora, the Palestinians, they are 51%. 51% between sea and river. I'm sure with one thing, we will not disappear. This is main thing. We will not disappear. As a human rights activist also, we will not give up. We will not surrender. We will not step back. And I do believe that future is for justice and for human rights. Strategically speaking, I have no concern on our people. Even with all of this dark picture, I have no concern. But the painful is why we have to pay this high price until we reach that moment. Our role here is to shorten the time, to reduce the price. And because of that, we are struggling, fighting, and continue on this line. Thank you.
We unfortunately don't have more time for questions, but I want to give Raji and Shawan the last word, briefly to conclude, and then by that we will conclude our.
Just 2 points. One, I would like to share with you a story, just short story. But before that, one short thing. I do believe that we have two international communities. One is the official one, and one is the public one. And I do believe and put a big hope on the public one. I don't believe about the official one. If there is a hope, if there is a change, it will come from you and from the public. That's. The second one, it's a story. This event is recorded. And I will tell you a short story. In 1992, I was in interrogation center near Tel Aviv called Bitah Tikva. And the head of the interrogation center at that time, he was a colonel, and his nickname was Abu Sharif. They took me from the cell after midnight. He said, look, I want to go with you in a discussion, politics, things like that. Put aside, the interrogation. Later on, I think 2 years after that, maybe in 94, he became the head of the interrogation section in whole Israel. Maybe today he is retired. But I'm sure that he heard me on the internet because I said that also in 2004. And this is the story. He said, look, Shawan, I am a colonel. I'm a senior. And if you ask me if I have a hope or a faith or believes that my grandson will live in Israel or not, to be honest with you, I have a doubt. I'm not sure. Future is in your side, not in our side, because there is a lesson in history. This is his words. And I hope that he can hear me, Maybe he is in the United States or in Africa doing like business, helping, how to do security or something like that. Yeah. What he said exactly, he said, future is in your side. You are the majority here. Minority has no future. And we are here not a normal minority. But we built our state not to collapse in 10 years. We built our state to stay for 100 years. Directly I reacted to him. I said, 48, 92. He said, no. Don't start a count. But this is the case. Because of that, Shawan, I am with the idea to give you back 67, including East Jerusalem, to build your state on it, because this is for the interest of Israel, for the interest of our state. And we have to negotiate PLO. And we have to remove this, myth called, terrorist organization, things like that. Here I told him, but I have a proposal for you to stay for 1,000 years. He said, what's your proposal? I said, okay, one democratic state in Palestine. And here, maybe me and you become in one side, the others in the other side. That's the case. He said, no. I don't want to discuss with you your proposal. That's the case. But we built our state to stay for 100 years. I think it gives you an idea that in deep conscience, there is one strategy is how to stay as a superpower and how to depend in your existence on force and power. This is the changeable things in history. I think by building peace, we can protect everyone. We can also protect them forever. That's the case. And This is his story. And his nickname is Abu Sharif. Real name, I don't know. But if I see his face these days, it's long time now, I don't know if I recognize him or not. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank Raji, Shawan, and Amira. So we want to really thank them for their time in coming here and speaking.